Greetings, Guardians. This is Olympus Alliance. And today we are finally beginning something many players have been waiting for since Kendall arrived into the Dominion. Top teams. Because Guardians. The more we explore this hero, the more one thing becomes obvious very quickly. Kendall is not limited. She is not a hero locked into one single faction or one single composition style. Yes, chaos synergy is naturally incredible around her because sacrifice mechanics feed directly into her scaling and pressure, but if you really stop and read her skills carefully, you begin noticing something much bigger. Pure damage. Critical pure damage. Magical critical hit chance amplification. And suddenly an enormous amount of combinations start opening around her. That is what makes Kendall so exciting right now. You train one composition. Another appears. You test sacrifice. Then healing becomes incredible beside her. You test control. Suddenly her pressure becomes overwhelming. You test magical critical hit synergy. And entire battles start melting in seconds. This hero has versatility. Real versatility. And during our testing, 3 specific teams immediately jumped into our eyes because of how beautifully Kendall interacts with the battlefield around her. Control mixed with damage. Healing mixed with sacrifice. Increased health pools feeding pressure. Armor penetration support amplifying pure damage sequences. And inside all of it, Kendall standing in the center of the chaos as the queen of the composition. So Guardians, let's begin. Our first team is Byrna, Maya, Lian, Kendall, and Aidan. And this composition is beautiful because every hero contributes something Kendall absolutely loves. Byrna immediately becomes extremely important here because she increases magical critical hit chance, provides healing support and accelerates energy gainings across the battlefield. That alone already amplifies Kendall massively because magical critical hit chance directly feeds her terrifying pure critical damage interactions. Then we add Maya. And Maya brings something many players may overlook at first. Continuous pressure. Poison damage. Sustained battlefield control. Healing. Long fight dominance. Maya slowly overwhelms opponents while Kendall keeps layering sacrifice pressure and explosive pure damage sequences on top of it. The battlefield starts becoming poisoned, unstable and incredibly difficult to survive. Then comes Lian. And Lian completely transforms the pace of the battle. Control. Disruption. Punishment against aggression. Enemies trying to attack recklessly suddenly get enchanted and delayed while Kendall continues building momentum safely behind the frontline pressure. And the beautiful part is that Lian herself also contributes pure damage interactions through relic mechanics, making the battlefield even more oppressive over time. Then finally, Aidan. And Aidan feels almost made to work beside Kendall. Healing. Sacrifice synergy. Shielding. Sustain. Maximum health manipulation. Everything inside his kit reinforces Kendall's philosophy perfectly. He stabilizes the team while simultaneously feeding sacrifice mechanics that amplify battlefield pressure continuously. And then in the center of all of this, Kendall shines. Her sacrifice mechanics feed the composition. Her critical pure damage interactions punish weakened enemies constantly. Friendly fire transforms allies into offensive weapons while magical critical hit amplification starts turning every sequence into chaos. This team is not about instant explosions. It is about elegant destruction. The longer the fight lasts, the more impossible it becomes to survive against it. Now our second team changes direction slightly. Maya, Cascade, Lian, Kendall, and Aidan. At first glance the difference looks small. But the battlefield dynamic changes enormously because Cascade brings something completely different into the composition. Disruption. Chaos. Battlefield instability. Cascade interferes with enemy momentum constantly while simultaneously bringing one extremely important detail through the weapon artifact. Magic penetration, and armor penetration support. And this becomes massive for Kendall, even if she doesn't need it, because purer damage bypass armor but magical critical doesn't bypass, so this is the combination. Because now the battlefield starts losing defensive stability completely. Defenses weaken while pure damage and magical pressure begin exploding through enemy lines much more consistently. Then we combine this with one of the most underrated mechanics inside Cascade's kit. Adaptive damage reading. Cascade is intelligent enough to analyze enemy defenses and attack with magical damage, physical damage or pure damage depending on what benefits him most. And that is spectacular inside this composition because now the enemy team struggles to stabilize correctly against incoming pressure. Maya poisons the battlefield continuously. Lian interrupts momentum. Cascade destabilizes positioning and defensive structures. Aidan healing and sacrifices. And then Kendall arrives on top of all of that chaos with critical pure damage mechanics. This composition feels extremely difficult to predict during fights because pressure comes from every direction and through multiple damage types simultaneously. And once sacrifice loops begin scaling, the battlefield becomes completely unstable. Now Guardians. Our third team may be the most spectacular one visually during battles. Electra, Zesha, Kendall, Aidan, and Mew. This team feels like an orchestra of destruction. Unlike the previous teams, we lose some maximum health amplification. But what we gain instead is far more direct pressure, more explosive scaling and non-stop battlefield aggression. Electra immediately becomes incredibly important because she manipulates enemy targeting behavior. She forces enemies toward herself, creating openings for the rest of the composition while simultaneously amplifying allied offensive pressure. And that matters massively here because the longer Electra disrupts enemy focus, the more time the sacrifice engine gets to scale out of control. Then comes Zesha. And this is where things become terrifying. Zesha, Aidan and Kendall together create one of the most beautiful sacrifice trios we have seen in a very long time. Every mechanic benefits another. Health manipulation creates scaling. Sacrifice feeds pressure. Pressure creates healing loops. Healing stabilizes further sacrifice. And inside this non-stop cycle, Kendall keeps amplifying the chaos through pure critical damage interactions. Then at the top of the composition we place Mew. And Mew is absolutely fantastic here. Massive magical critical hit potential. Explosive offensive pressure. Blindness. That blindness mechanic becomes incredibly annoying because now enemies are forced toward Electra while simultaneously risking missed attacks due to Mew's battlefield disruption. So even when opponents finally get opportunities to attack, they can still fail completely. Meanwhile Kendall continues scaling pressure. Zesha keeps amplifying damage. Aidan stabilizes the composition endlessly. And Mew transforms the battlefield into complete magical chaos. This team feels aggressive, fast, explosive, relentless, and visually, it is absolutely spectacular to watch during battles. So Guardians. These are three teams that immediately jumped into our eyes during testing around Kendall. But trust me, Many more combinations are waiting to be discovered because this hero feels incredibly flexible already. That is what makes her exciting. Not simply raw power. Possibilities. The way she connects with sacrifice, healing, control, magical critical hit chance, armor penetration, pure damage, battlefield disruption. Everything around her starts opening new ideas. And the deeper players experiment with her, the crazier these combinations are going to become. So Guardians, which Kendall team are you trying first? And what combinations have already caught your attention during training? Let us know below because this hero still has an enormous amount of secrets waiting to be discovered. Stay tuned, stay sharp. And as always, salute and friendship.